The Convair 990 holds a record no airliner has broken. It is the fastest subsonic commercial aircraft ever to carry passengers. Faster than the Boeing 707. Faster than the DC-8. Convair won the speed race, yet only 102 were ever built. General Dynamics lost $425 million, and Convair never built another airliner again. The story of how a company engineered the perfect answer to the wrong question begins in 1956. On June 7, 1956, Convair signed a contract with Howard Hughes for an order for 30 jets, a deal that gave his airline, TWA, a one-year head start on the new jetliner. For Convair, this seemed like a shortcut to instant credibility, a marquee customer, a guaranteed production run, and the promise of a major airline's endorsement. But the fine print handed Hughes extraordinary leverage. His inspectors arrived on the factory floor, scrutinizing every detail, demanding custom touches from gold-plated fixtures to revised wiring routes. Each request, no matter how minor, slowed the assembly line and forced Convair's engineers to adjust their plans. Internal memos recorded an 8% increase in assembly time and repeated disruptions to the production schedule. The TWA board grew restless as costs mounted and deadlines slipped. The exclusivity clause, once a bargaining chip, became a trap. Other airlines, watching Convair's output bottlenecked by Hughes's demands, hesitated to commit. The market window for jet orders began to close. In 1959, TWA sued Hughes, challenging his control over the airline's jet acquisitions. The court sided with TWA, stripping Hughes of his contractual grip and ordering the return of $5 million in down payments. By the time TWA's first Convair 880 entered service in January 1961, Boeing and Douglas had already delivered dozens of jets to competitors. Convair's head start had vanished, replaced by a backlog of missed opportunities and a program already running behind. The same contract that launched the 880 would end up crippling its prospects before a single passenger ever boarded. Convair's engineers placed a bold bet on the General Electric CJ805 turbojet, a civilian spin-off of the J79 that powered supersonic fighters. This choice set the 880 apart from its rivals, promising higher thrust and a chance to break the speed barrier that defined the early jet age. The gamble came with a hidden price. The CJ805's higher specific fuel consumption meant more fuel burned per mile, a trade-off masked by the allure of raw performance. Internal flight test logs from late 1958 detail how Convair's test pilots, led by Dick Richards, pushed the prototype to its limits in the California desert. On January 27, 1959, the first Convair 880 lifted off from Lindbergh Field, climbing smoothly on the power of 4 CJ8053 engines. The initial flights confirmed the design's promise. Cruise speeds exceeded 600 miles per hour, the ride was clean and vibration-free, and acceleration left the Boeing 707 and Douglas DC-8 trailing in the slipstream. Yet the numbers in the engineering memos told a more complicated story. The CJ805's specific fuel consumption ran about 10% higher than the Pratt & Whitney JT3C used by the competition. Dispatch reliability became a concern as well, with early engine pylon vibration and intake duct distortion prompting a series of fixes: rubber isolation mounts, reinforced pylons, and modified airflow ramps. Each modification added time and cost, but the program pressed on. Delta Airlines, looking for an edge, became the first to put the 880 into commercial service in May 1960. Pilots praised the speed, but maintenance crews soon found themselves wrestling with the demands of a high-strung engine designed for military performance, not airline schedules. The contrast between the 880's technical audacity and its practical realities began to surface in these early operational months, setting the stage for the market pushback that would follow. Airline finance teams pored over the Convair 880's numbers and saw an immediate problem. The cabin was too narrow. 5 abreast seating meant fewer tickets sold per flight compared to the 6 abreast layout of the Boeing 707 and Douglas DC-8. Internal studies at American and United flagged a 15% revenue penalty per trip, a gap that no amount of speed could close. Every empty seat on a transcontinental run was lost income, and the 880 simply could not match the earning power of its rivals. Boeing moved quickly. As Convair tried to win back hesitant buyers, Boeing introduced the 720, a cheaper, lighter derivative of the 707, tailored for the same medium-range markets the 880 was meant to dominate. United, after months of evaluation, cancelled its tentative 880 order and bought 4 720s instead. Their fleet planners cited not just the extra seats, but also the ability to swap engines and spares with their existing 707s. The switch was decisive, a single order lost, but with it the momentum Convair desperately needed. Price wars broke out. Airlines demanded deeper discounts, threatening to walk if Convair would not match Boeing's terms. Each contract negotiation became a race to the bottom, with Convair forced to offer concessions just to keep its sales teams in the conversation. The promise of speed faded against the hard math of seat mile costs and fleet commonality. The 880's market window, already narrowing, began to slam shut. American Airlines demanded a jet that could cut nearly 45 minutes off a transcontinental flight, a challenge that pushed Convair's engineers into uncharted territory. The 990 Coronado was designed to deliver a cruise speed of 635 miles per hour, with a contract clause imposing millions in penalties for every minute short of the target. But as flight test data rolled in, the numbers fell short. The 990 struggled to sustain the promised Mach 0.91 in routine service, often cruising closer to Mach 0.86. Internal memos from Convair's test team recorded mounting frustration as each trial revealed the stubborn limits of the airframe and engines. To claw back speed and satisfy Americans' demand, Convair launched a costly retrofit program. Engineers devised anti-shock pods, cigar-shaped bodies mounted on the wing's trailing edge, to raise the critical Mach number and reduce wave drag. The solution worked in the wind tunnel and on select test flights, but the modifications added weight and complexity. The retrofit campaign ballooned past $5 million in tooling and certification costs, straining an already overstretched budget. Americans' planners, tracking every delay and cost overrun, began to question the economic logic of chasing a speed advantage that came with so many trade-offs. The technical scramble bought Convair a few knots, but not enough to close the gap. The project's financial reckoning was about to begin. The final tally was unforgiving. Convair built 102 jetliners, 65 of the 880, and just 37 of the 990 Coronado. On paper, these were marvels, faster than any commercial rivals, crowned with the title of the world's fastest subsonic airliner. In the ledger, though, the numbers told a different story. General Dynamics recorded a loss of $425 million on the program, a figure that dwarfed any previous corporate setback in American aviation. Each aircraft carried a hidden weight, the cost of research, tooling, and a sprawling factory built for production runs that never came. The break-even point, once pegged at around 500 units, remained a distant mirage. Instead, Convair's commercial airliner line shut down for good. The company never attempted another passenger jet. For the finance chiefs in San Diego, the 880 and the 990 became a lesson written in red ink, a reminder that technical brilliance, without a willing market, can be the most expensive achievement of all. Pilots who flew the Convair 880 and 990 still speak of handling that bordered on the sublime. The controls responded with a lightness and precision that set these jets apart from their heavier, more ponderous rivals. In cockpit logs and interviews, former Delta and Swissair captains recall the thrill of climbing through 30,000 feet at speeds that left other airliners far behind. The 990's acceleration, even at altitude, drew comparisons to a fighter jet, rare praise in the world of commercial aviation. Out on the ramp, the Convair's silhouette lingers in memory. 6 airframes survive today, scattered across museums and airfields from California to Switzerland. One of the most famous, a Convair 880 named Lisa Marie, became Elvis Presley's private jet. He bought it in 1975, outfitted the cabin with velvet sofas and gold-plated fixtures, and parked it at Graceland, where it still draws visitors decades after its last flight. NASA found new life for the 990 as a research platform. Stripped of seats and fitted with sensors, these jets tested advanced landing gear, tire designs, and even space shuttle hardware. The sight of a 990 in NASA livery, rolling down the runway at Edwards, hints at a second act few commercial failures ever achieve. In the end, the Convair 880 and 990 left behind more than a cautionary tale. They left echoes in the sky, and stories that endure wherever speed and ambition are remembered. Convair proved that brilliance in engineering can still end in silence, if the market never asks for what you build. Today, speed records remain, and so do the lessons. Innovation without demand is risk, not reward. The cost of answering the wrong question still echoes in every boardroom. What do you think?